Okay, so those should now have all been imported. You may get some red errors at the bottom, so just click Window, General, Console. Okay, nothing to worry about, it's just as it's importing it, just click Clear and all those disappear. If you do get any errors that persist and don't go away, just let me know and I'll show you how to fix those. Now, as you can see, our project window is getting very full. Okay, and a little bit messy. So what we're going to do is just clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to right click, choose Create, New Folder. I'll simply call this Items. Okay, and if you want a folder to stick to the top of your assets, you can actually right click, rename, and just put an exclamation mark at the beginning. If you do that, it will move directly right up to the top there. So you can always find that right at the top. So we're going to move the majority of these folders into that thing. I'm just going to use Shift, select all of it, and then using Control, I'm going to deselect the ones I don't want to move. So I don't want to move Scenes, I don't want to move Props or Pro Builder, I don't want to move Materials, and I don't want to move Cartoon Heroes. There should also be the Medieval Village House. I think that's the one. Okay, so all the rest we're just going to click and drag, move those into items. We'll probably have to reconfigure a couple of things, but they should move quite nicely. All right, there we go. Now let me see if I got the correct Medieval Village one here. Oh, no, I didn't. I got the cart. Okay, so I'll just move that into items. Let me find the correct Medieval Village. So I'll just close some of these down so that I can see them. So it's Medieval House Light. I'm just going to click and drag that one back into assets. All right, so these are effectively the things that we're going to be using most. Okay. Great. Now we also have our Sketchfab items, so you should have downloaded these. Now you will notice that when you click in them, you get a textures folder, then you get the source folder, and it's effectively just zipped up. So it's a good idea to kind of unzip this. Now, since we've already got our textures, we really only need the FBX. So I'll just drag that into there, and then let me see, I'll just drag this onto here, into textures. I'll just put it all together, and then I can just click this here. I'll just use my F2 to rename, or you can right click and rename. I'll call that fencing. Okay, that's number one. Then obviously we get pedestal, same thing again, we got all the textures, and then obviously the source. Once again, we only really need the FBX. Just drag this over here, drag this over here, put that in there, and let's rename this. So pedestal. And then finally with the rocks, once again, oh, we already have the FBX for the rocks, which is good. Got all the textures there. So let's just rename this one as rocks. I'll call it Sketchfab because I might have a few rocks in there actually. And there we go. All right, so now we've sorted those three out, so I can now drag those directly into the items folder. So just drag those directly into there. Okay, this is basically saying that there are some normal maps in there. They're not marked as normal maps. Do you want Unity to mark these as normal? Yeah, fix now. Okay, and it'll do that automatically for you. Don't need those anymore, so I can now delete those. Yeah, don't need the Sketchfab stuff. Delete that. Great. Okay, now in the items we should also have a folder called resources, one of which is an alpha channel map that we're going to use for our terrain, to actually sculpt our terrain. And this has come from the terrain tools. Okay, but we need to actually import this as a brush. Okay, so first of all, we're going to click on the graphic itself. In the inspector, we need to change its texture type to a single channel. Texture shape is 2D, and the channel we want to use is the red channel. Okay, so if I now click apply, notice that turns red. This can now be used as a brush on our terrain. Okay, really good stuff. So we'll get into importing that a little bit later. These are just some items that I created in Photoshop. This grass light actually comes from the, I think there's one here, it's not this one, cartoon texture pack, it's hand painted textures. So it's actually this grass 01 from this one. I've just lightened it up a great deal in Photoshop. Okay, so that's where that comes from. This one I created using this great little bit of software. I forget what it's called, but you can create your own normal maps. I'll let you know when I check that later on, but great bit of software. Yeah, alright, so we're all ready. Now, what I want to do, I want to pull all of the prefabs that I'm intending to use out of these folders and put them into one single folder. It just makes it easier to find these items when I need them. So what I'm going to do is click on these little dots. I want to add a new tab. I want to add a new project tab. Alright, that opens this up again. Okay, so inside of items, I can now go through this. Now what I want to do is right click on here, choose create folder, and I will call this main prefabs. Okay, so now, and I want to lock that, by the way, so that I don't lose this. So now inside of a piece of nature, if I go to models and just scroll this up, we can see that we've got some great models going on. So I know that I'm going to be using Pine Tree Double, so I'm just going to drag that over there. I'm going to be using Rock 3, Rock 4 and Chest. Okay, I'm not going to be using those two. Ancient Ruins, Prefabs, let's wait for this. I'm going to be using all of these, so I'm just going to hold shift, bring these across. Not going to be using any of those. Okay. This one, I'm going to be using this and this one, I think. Okay, cartoon texture pack is textures. We'll come back to that soon. Dinner table, we don't need to use that yet. Fantasy forest environment under meshes and prefabs. Okay, I'm going to be using both grass and tree one. And don't worry about moving these prefabs. As long as you don't move like textures and materials and stuff, the prefabs can be placed anywhere. It's perfectly fine. They've still got links back to their originals. Then we've got our fencing. So I know that I want to use fencing, so I'll just pull that over. Hand painted textures is our textures. We'll come back to those. Hand painted fountain. I think there was a prefab there. Okay, I'm going to be using that. And painted forest pack light, assets and prefabs. Okay, I'm going to be using this bush and tree trunk beach. Unpainted wooden crate. Oh, there was a prefab there. Going to be using that. Low poly wells. Okay, we're going to be using the well. Medieval village cart. I'm going to be using the cart with the 4 wheels, and there's also a bit of straw to go in the cart as well. I don't need just the individual wheels. Well, no, I don't think so. Medieval gold. I'm going to be using gold pieces. I'm going to be using a gold coin. I'm going to be using maybe an ingot, maybe. Pedestal. I'm going to be using the pedestal. Rocks. Yep. Stylized stone. I'm going to be using that. Stylized environment. I might use one of these crystals, it's possible. Definitely going to be using these rocks because these look really nice. And I'm going to be using that trunk as well. I'm not going to be using these, however. Hand painted dungeon. So we've got a really nice pillar, wall, and wall entrance, and we've also got a great door as well. Yeah. This one. This is the one. I'm going to potentially be using all of those, so I'm just going to drag the entire folder. They're all prefabs. Put them over there. Skybox package skyboxes. We'll get onto those soon. Toon crystals. So let's have a look. Meshes. We've got quite a few things going on there, so I'll take all the meshes, put them over here, and I'll just rename that actually. So rename as crystals, so I know what they are. Toon Forest free. Now they've called them pre-hub instead of prefab. What I want here is this particular plant. I want this one, and I want a bit of an ivy. I want this tree stump. These mushrooms are a little bit angular. I don't really need those. Yeah, might just go with that. Turntable, prefabs, base prefabs. We've got some pretty good stuff here. So we've got, in fact, I'll get those from the mushrooms actually. So we've got various flowers. Okay, so I'll drag that one in here. This is grass, not bad actually, so I might just get these two, drag these in. Mushrooms, yep, these are all good. Platforms, yep, we can definitely use some of these. And then rocks, these are not bad. We'll just use all of those. Okay, and then UI graphics, oh yeah, it's from before. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything from there. All right, so now you will notice it's all in one folder and I can easily just drag those into the scene. It makes it so much easier to find now. So what we'll do in the next video, in fact, actually we can do that now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click, choose create, set up a new folder, and I will call this terrain textures. Might as well. Okay, so I want to go back into items. So I want to find something like, for example, the cartoon texture pack. I know that I'm going to be using some grass flowers. I think it's tint 01 and then texture. And the one that I want is this flower blue base color. All right, I also want the, not the height map, not the metallic, but I do want the normal. So I just want to take these two, drag those into there. Okay. Then rocks, cliff, textures, and the one that I want is this rocks, cliff. In fact, I might take a few of these. I might take this one and this one, and then make sure I get the normal, and then this one, and the normal as well. Okay, we don't need those bits. Then we've got sand. This is really great, this sand texture. I'm going to be taking this sand beach and also the normal as well, and let's just drag that into there. And yeah, that should be fine. Then we've also got the fantasy forest environment textures. I'm going to be using this dirt texture. All right, let's just bring that in. And then under resources, I'm also going to be using this grass light. So let's bring that in, and this field normal. And then I should also have stylized and painted dungeon. Oh, okay. Let me take a look. So, hand painted. Be easier actually if I do this. Hand painted textures, that's what I was looking for. Okay, we're going to be using the water. Drag that in. And I might also be using the floor as well. I might have a darker patch of grass, so I'll bring that in. Yeah, alright, I think that's fine. Okay, so, actually maybe a bit of dry dirt as well. Now we should have in one of these another graphic. Nope, I don't think so. Okay, so I think that's perfectly fine. All right, for all of our textures. These are all of the textures that we're going to be using on our terrain. Okay, so now that we're done with this window, I can right click and close that tab. All right, and then I'll do a file, new scene, create. Don't need to save that one, do I? Well, I'll save it anyway, just in case. And then from here, we can now start creating our terrain. So I'm just going to do file, save as, into scenes, and I will call this terrain 1.